Hello and welcome to Rubyvale Road and this sewing tutorial showing you how to sew a lined tote bag. You will need a sewing kit and sewing machine. With your choice of fabrics, you can go with the same for outer and lining or choose to do a contrasting lining. You will also need matching thread. So straight into cutting your fabric. I will leave all the measurements down below. Rule out the length and width. For the outer, I cut the bottom of the bag on the fold just so the fabric can be folded in half and I have one less seam to sew. Then cut out your two handles from your outer fabric. For your lining fabric, you will need to cut two separate rectangles with the length half an inch or 1.5 centimeters longer to allow for the bottom seam allowance. So your pattern pieces will be one big rectangle of outer fabric, two handles, and two rectangles of your lining. Onto the sewing, and we will start with the handles. Follow these instructions for both handles. Fold strap in half lengthways, pin and sew along the long edge, leaving the short edges open. Iron your seam open. Use a safety pin to turn your handle out the right way. To turn out the right way with a safety pin, you just pin the safety pin to one side at an end of the tube, and then you poke that safety pin down into the tube and pull all the way through. And again, iron your seam to press flat. For a tidy finish to the handles, sew a top stitch all the way down both long edges of each handle. For a top stitch on the machine, line the edge up with the middle of your presser foot so that you sew straight and as close to the edge as possible. And ta-da, we have two lovely handles ready. Now to sew the body of the bag. We will start by sewing sides together on the outer of the bag. So fold your rectangle in half with right sides together. Pin and sew down each side. On the lining, make sure you have the longer edge as the sides and the shorter edge along the top and the bottom. Then we will need to pin the sides and along the bottom, leaving a 2-inch or 5 centimeter gap in the bottom seam. Once you've sewn all your seams, remember to iron your seams flat. Next, it's time for a little sewing trick to add depth to our tote bag. On the inside of the bag, essentially we're going to fold the side seam with the bottom of the bag. Then measure 5 centimeters or 2 inches from the point of the corner along the side seam and add a pin to mark the measurement. So with the bottom of the bag and the side seam flat against each other, pin a straight line making your pins connect the bottom line of a triangular shape. When you turn the bag out the right way, the pin line shows the seam that will be created to give the bottom of the bag some shape. So do the same on the other corner. Of course, do the same for the corners of the lining, but don't sew the gap closed yet. We will sew that closed as the very last step. Sew right on the pin line, so take it steady to make sure to remove each pin as you sew. I hope these instructions made sense. The video will definitely help to see what's going on, but of course if you have any questions, just leave a comment down below. Give your triangles an iron, then we're ready to turn the outer of the bag out the right way. And here are our nice straight seams at the bottom of the bag. Next, sew the handles onto the outer of the bag. To mark evenly, fold the bag in half and in half again. Poke a pin through all the layers and use tailor's chalk to mark the quarter points. If you don't have chalk, you can also just mark with pin. Then opening flat, align the middle of the strap with the quarter mark. The short raw edges will sit with the top of the top edge of the bag and the rest of the handle hangs down the bag. Be sure to pin the handles flat and not twisted. Then flip the bag over and do the same with the other handle. This time also make sure the handle is in line with the handle you've already pinned. Sew the straps in place on your sewing machine just with a 1 centimeter seam allowance. With those straps in place, we can sew the lining and outer together. So with the outer out the right way and the lining inside out, place the outer into the lining. This will have the right side of the outer and lining facing each other. Pin the lining and outer together all around the top of the bag. Line up the side seams together and make sure the handles are in between the layers and lying somewhat flat. Sew all the way around with a 1.5 centimeter seam allowance. Iron open the seam along the top. Then finally we can make use of the gap left in the bottom of the lining to pull the bag out the right way. Here comes our bag! So as you can see, the outer comes out and then the lining goes into the bag and the seams are all facing each other, so it's all nice and neat and tidy. Remember to iron the top seam to help the two layers sit evenly, and to make certain they sit evenly, we will do a top stitch all the way round. Again, lining up the edge of the fabric in the middle of the presser foot to get as close to the edge as possible. Very last step, as promised, close the gap in the lining by folding under the raw edges and stitching closed. On the machine, just sew a top stitch by sewing as close to the edge as you can. There you have it, a beautifully made and very practical tote bag, perfect for shopping, going to the beach, or using however you wish. Tote bag is a really great beginner project, but it's also great because you can give them away as gifts, and so it's really handy, and of course so handy to keep one for yourself, especially when you make it from beautiful fabric that you love and you know that it's made really well and of course made with a lot of love and a lot of care. So if you enjoyed this tutorial, please be sure to subscribe to Rubyvale Road, leave the video a thumbs up, and I hope very much to see you in my next sewing tutorial. And please be sure to check me out. I'll have links down below to my socials if you want to see more of my own sewing projects, fails, all of that good stuff. It's all there down below on my Instagram. Alright, thank you so much. Bye bye. Oh.